Aloha and welcome to Wisdom Dialogues with Hope Johnson. Coming to you from Upper Kapoho on the beautiful big island of Hawaii. Yay!
Yay!
Happy 420 everyone. Yay,
Yay.
420 in quarantine. What fun.
Totally, dude.
Apparently there's a 420 party on the way to Pahoa.
Oh, how
that
awesome.
Cool Mana, Stephanie and Jairus' place?
Yeah, Jairus' place.
Yeah, I wonder
Mikhail
how,
is going.
who's going?
Mikhail.
Okay, I wonder how that's going to pan out. We'll see. We'll find out.
6 feet apart? Oh.
You have 100 acres. So I would like to give some gratitude for suffering. It's so awesome. For one, it shows you that you made a mistake in thinking. It reveals to you that you made a mistake in thinking, and that includes if you see another person suffering. No one's suffering. Any perception that you have of another person is coming from your body's energy field. That gives you all dominion over everything that you perceive. So that means that nothing can harm you. Not an angry person, not a suffering person, sad, irritated, seemingly irritated with you maybe. Because since it's all coming from your body's energy field, the first manifestation of thought, body's energy field, you can ask for another interpretation. You can ask to see it differently. And that's really all it comes down to, is seeing the situation differently. Another thing that's wonderful about suffering is it gets each of us to decide for truth. To finally go, okay, I must have it wrong. If I'm perceiving suffering, if I'm feeling like I'm suffering, I must have it wrong. I must be mistaken. And if I'm mistaken, then I can be corrected, right? Wouldn't you want to be mistaken if you're feeling really upset? And you want to be brought back to joy? See? To the ego, it's like, oh, I feel really upset. Something must really be wrong. I know what the problem is. There's an arrogance there. And knowing, thinking that you know what it is that's making you upset. And it's never anything in the world. I noticed this morning I was having some yoga, and it was yin yoga. So if you know yin yoga, it's super slow. It's a really long, peaceful breath, very quiet. So my husband comes in, and we have a really big mat. My husband comes in, and he starts rolling around the exercise ball. It's like really loud. Like I could hear him slapping the mat and everything. And I start to feel my emotional energy turn toward the fear side, basically judgmental. You know, like you might say that this is like minor. You know, it just comes up like, wow, I really have to focus more right now because there's a lot of noise going on. And, you know, just turning the attention right back in again and again to the body's energy field. Maybe a thought comes and about, you know, maybe talking to him and letting him know that, you know, it needs to be quiet there. And then it goes right back into the body's energy field. What a better place to practice that than yin yoga. But really, everything can be the same. Everything can be exactly the same, no matter what you seem to be doing. No matter what kind of situation or what kind of perception you seem to be having, you can offer that up. Just give up your interpretation and you go back into the flow. You go back into the happiness. You know, there's not really anything that can disrupt your peace. Not a person making a bunch of noise right next to you. Well, you think you're having this relaxed process. I saw the mind go to, wow, at least when you're in a yoga class, everyone else is doing the same thing as you. But it's just like all these thoughts are so meaningless. They don't mean anything. They're just to upset you. So I'm seeing that this is all just to bring about some upset. And then it's like, my husband is set free. He's given he's given the freedom to be who he is, and I am set free. See, when you set another person free like that, you're set free too. And then I just forgot all about it. But that's something where if you get hooked, you're like, oh, we got to talk about this. We have to, get this straight. And for me, I don't have to talk to people, not in years, about how their behavior is bothering me. Because I know where it's coming from. So it's not a problem. It's like, oh, yeah, just be how you are. Or, if it's like, hey, can you be a little bit quieter when I'm doing yoga? Is it possible that you can roll that ball somewhere else? It's fine. No problem. But what I find is that more often than not, there's no need to say anything. Everything's always changing. And things that seem to be bothersome, they just stop being bothersome. Or they just stop seeming to occur. But when we make them into something, then they seem to occur more and more and more. Now, I've been hanging out with my husband for a really long time. And there were times where I would kind of nitpick him. Go, hey, I don't like it when you do it like that. I want you to do it like this. And he'd go, okay. He'd keep on going, okay. And he'd change, keep on changing. And then eventually I looked at that and I go, is that what I really want? Because it's like the more things I find wrong, the more the more there is. Exactly. The more things I find wrong, it's like, oh, there's more stuff. And it dawned on me, wow, that's not what I want to use the relationship for. That's not really useful. I would rather use it for seeing through the illusion. I would rather use it for, seeing what those triggers are and seeing where the problem, the perceived problem, is really coming from. There actually aren't any problems. Well, there really aren't any problems. People ask me, well, if you say that there aren't any problems, how are you going to get problems resolved? And I go, well, they just resolve on their own. They really just resolve on their own. There isn't a problem. What we perceive as a problem, what we make up as a problem, is just to get some kind of a trigger out of us. Just to get, it's to show something. It's like, oh, there is no problem. And then yet, seemingly problems and solutions arise. But here's the thing about problems too. Once you're aware of the problem, the solution is already there. And your awareness of the problem indicates that there is already a solution as well, because it's a world of opposites. So for the solution to be made known to you, it takes some relaxation in not trying to pursue the solution to the problem on your own. Anything that's perceived to be a problem, it's just there for creative play. You could say it's there for helping you to see through that thought of separation. The thought that you separated yourself from creation. And as you see like that, as you're willing to see more and more like that, you won't have so much to say, but you don't have to manage your actions. You don't have to try not to say something. If it needs to come about, then it will. Yay. If it needs to come out, then it'll just come out. Like I'll give you one, for instance. We have a tea kettle and it warms up water. It's one of those electric ones. I found out my son was putting the sink water into it, and I prefer the water from the filter, the Santivia filter. So at first I felt like, oh man, sink water in the tea. Oh, I've been drinking that. Oh, you know, chlorine, city water. and I knew it wasn't like time to try to fix the problem because of the way I felt. So I sat with that feeling first. And then it just automatically came out as if it was being said for me. Would you mind putting only the filtered water in there? Because I like to drink the filtered water. And he's like, oh yeah, sure. Now, you know, if you say something from a triggered reaction, right? It's really likely, unless the person is super tuned in, that it's going to also trigger them. There's going to be some, you know, maybe like a guilty feeling or, oh, that really bummed them out, you know. And the last thing I want to teach a person is that they bummed me out, because that's teaching my own mind that I'm vulnerable. See, anything that we teach to anyone else, and all conversation, everything that we say, we're teaching. And we're teaching our own mind. So that's why, for me, the last thing I want to teach someone is that they have any power to make me upset. And if I'm perceiving that they have power to make me upset, I don't feel motivated to talk about it until that's settled. And it settles inside with my guide. And then, if something needs to be said, then it's just said. It's like it's done for me. I'm not planning it either. I'm not planning on saying anything, because I know that's not really where the solution is going to come from. That's not really it. I don't have to have good communication skills. I just have to allow love. I just have to allow love for that upset feeling that makes it seem as if I can be hurt or victimized or inconvenienced by a person. Yeah.
I wanted to just stop because you said I'm guided. I go inside where I'm guided.
Yes.
Can you speak on that?
Yes. So everyone has a guide, and it's the same guide. It's really the same guide. We make up all these different guides with all these different names and stuff like that. But one guide who has been given to everyone who knows who you are and also knows who you think you are.
Is that like a guardian angel?
You can say it's the Holy Spirit is one way.
Holy Spirit.
One way of saying it. You know, it's like the Holy Spirit given to you because of thinking in separation. Holy Spirit is also an illusion. It's like a gift. It's like a gift given to you, because the Holy Spirit knows who you are. That illusion knows who you are. It's kind of like a gift from God, and also knows who you think you are. So constantly guiding toward joy, because that's who you are. You know, that's your natural state. It's joy. So when you are anywhere removed from joy, you can call on your guide to show you the way back. And if you're asking, it does get shown to you. But here's the thing. Most of the time, people are not asking, and that's why they're suffering. Most of the time, people think they know. They think they know. They think that what they're having a perception of is really true. Like, that's really happening. That's why I say a lot of the times and repeat it a lot, that nothing is happening. Nothing. There's nothing here. If you feel upset, that's because you are mistaken. You believed something that wasn't true. You didn't ask your guide to reinterpret it for you. You just believed in your perception, and all your perception is an interpretation made by the brain, which is totally set up on the thought of separation. The brain is meant to interpret back to you that you're separate and guilty. Isn't that fun?
Yeah. It's a blast.
Especially when you know it's not true.
Yeah, that's what makes it fun. That's what makes it fun. You know it's
It
not
does
true.
Get fun though. I find myself laughing a lot about, like, I catch it and I laugh. And
Yeah.
It's hysterical, that person, that identity.
Yeah. It's really funny the things the ego says. Like
Yeah.
even when it comes to a should, like you should be, and you can just laugh.
Yeah.
I need to, where you think you know what you want, wherever you think you know what you want. Like I want this. You don't know.
You think you know.
You think you know. If you think you know what you want, then you're going to get angry. Because it seems like there's all these blocks to you getting what you want.
Yeah.
And just not knowing what you want, as in worldly things. I mean, you can totally know what you want if you're like, no, I just want to be joyful, because that's who you are. And if you're not feeling joyful, it would be honest and true to say, I don't want to feel like this. I know I don't want to feel this way. And when you know that you don't want to feel that way, that's when you know that you can have the joy. You can have it back without anything changing, without anything or anyone. That's a really big one. Anyone changing. And, they may want to change you in your perception. They're not really like that, but they may want to change you in your perception. You made that up too. See? And when you know you made it up and you could put your attention back to where it's coming from, body's energy field, where it's coming from in the physical, put your attention there, then it's okay. It's fun to play with. It's fun to play with. You might even find yourself asking, things get really funny. What are you saying? Are you saying that I'm not qualified to do that? Well, you are this, and this. Okay, thank you. Because it just comes right out of your own body's energy field. They're showing you the thoughts that you think, but you don't know. You cover it up. I was sharing with my friend yesterday, Malachi, about how when you're upset with the person, the base thought that you really don't see is about murder. It's about murder. Like, you'd be better off if they're dead. But you know what? This is not something that's easily seen, because it's like the thought crosses and is covered over really fast. Oh, if you look, when you're upset with a person, it's like as if they should just die, because that's better off. And for the ego, that's perfect. The ego is existing on a thought that you don't want death, and you also do want it. It's like a split mind. I'm afraid of death, but then I want it. There's this draw toward death. And that's why we have the perception of these bodies basically evolving toward the grave.
Born to die.
First they're all fluffy. They're a nice baby. They're all chubby. They look all healthy. And then they get to be like, 20s, and they're like, ooh, boom, awesome. And then as you go on, it just starts to deteriorate. We made this shit up. It's funny. It's really funny. When you see that, the whole thing is very murderous. It's like each body that's propped up in the ego's world, and it could be human body or any body, because everything is going toward annihilation. And all of that is to keep the ego's identity. Bless you. It's to keep the ego's identity. Because the worst thing for the ego is to see that this whole thing is meaningless. Because then there's no use for the ego. But death, the idea of death, that keeps it as if there's something else to be afraid of. Death. And look at the whole COVID thing. It's all fear of death. And who minds? Who minds what occurs when it comes to a body that just like is propped up on a screen of consciousness? Who minds? And it's like naturally, your brain interpretation is going to automatically not want to go towards death. It's going to automatically lead you away from it. So, for instance, you don't go jump off a cliff unless you're having that time where it's suicidal, and that's the way the way it's going. But there's no need to try to protect this. It's already protected, and it's protected by love. What makes it seem like it's vulnerable to illness, even a headache, even like a blown out knee or anything like that, all it is lack of love. Lack of love in the mind makes manifestations that are sick, death, everything. And you know, the fun thing about death is that it doesn't actually have to happen. It doesn't actually have to happen. These bodies, when they're done, can just go into light. We're just used to seeing them being something that either gets buried or burned. It's left over. It's going to start stinking if something isn't done with it, right? But really, that's not necessary. We make that necessary through thinking. And if there's willingness to see that there is no death, and the more and more people are willing to see that there is no death, our perceptions can change. We don't have to look on that. If we're looking on death or sickness or anything else, just simply admitting that it's a mistake. It's a mistaken belief that makes me see a person as if they're lacking vitality, as if they're going toward the grave, let's say. Even like, you know, aging, signs of aging. It's like when I notice signs of aging on anyone, myself or anyone, or, you know, it's just automatically given over as, hey, that's an error in thinking. But notice how the normal automatic reaction to a thought like that is, well, that's the way it is. It sucks, but that's the way it is. And it's not, because we're making it up. So we don't have to keep on promoting death. And whenever someone seems like they're doing something to harm you, that's the same thing. Like, oh, I wish that person would just like disappear. If that person was out of my life, then everything would be so much easier.
Yeah, right. Somebody.
Yeah. So watch, because it's there, and it plays out kind of unconsciously. I say kind of unconsciously because it's all in consciousness, and we're intentionally covering over these darker, you know, more gruesome kind of thoughts, but they occur to us, and there's an automatic agreeing with it, and then it passes, and it really is an attack on ourselves. So, you know, any kind of suffering that pursues, anytime your face is wet with tears, that's because there is self-attack. It's never because of anything in the world. You know, we give ourselves this image that we're the one that's innocent, and we shouldn't be in this world that's so cruel. Look how they're treating us. And, you know, and of course, that's going to bring you to tears. You know, you're going to be crying about that because it seems like it's really true. But the one that gave the world that image as if it's doing something to you also gave you the image as if you're the innocent one in it. See, that image is also given to you. Your innocence, your true innocence can't be threatened. That's the thing. So, you know, if you have innocence in comparison to something else, that's not your innocence. That's ego innocence. Your innocence can't be threatened. So if you're feeling threatened, you don't know of your innocence. You need to know something. You need to learn of your innocence. And if you ask, that'll be given to you. You'll be shown. And you won't feel threatened by people. Oh, what if they do this? They've shown me that they have this kind of capacity where they might do this. Welcome it. Whatever it is, welcome it. This is what I've seen. Whatever's welcomed is not fearful anymore. There's nothing to fear about it. And what I've seen too is it's less of a chance of it being brought to fruition, especially when you're talking about what a person might do. It becomes less of a chance of that occurring if you're not afraid of it.
It's like we draw it, right? We draw it. Like they say, the Course says there's no neutral thoughts. So every thought's doing something, it's creating something. It's like we're drawing it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, every single thought that's allowed to just be true, let's say, if it's allowed to be the truth, a thought occurs to you, oh, that person is dangerous, or that person is gonna kill someone the way they drive, for instance. Drunk driving, whatever. That person is gonna kill someone. As soon as you believe that, you become vulnerable. But the same thought can just get a little chuckle, and then it has no effect. So it's not to be afraid of your thoughts. That's not going to help. But mostly it's a comedy show. You know, the ego's making it up as if you have something out there that can harm you, as if you could be vulnerable to the world, as something can get you without your authority. And there's nothing that happens here without your authority from another perspective, because whatever is brought into your perception, is given to you for the same purpose, and it's exactly what you need. So it's like, I made this. I told a friend a couple weeks ago, I don't know if she took it very well, but you know, she was talking about just ignoring the virus, and I was like, well, I didn't really make it to ignore it. I didn't really make the virus to ignore it. I made it to use it. You know, use it. So for instance, like I might hear about a news report of the virus or something like that. Instead of trying to ignore it, my attention goes into my body's energy field to see what the reaction is to that. Because that, even someone telling me something about the virus, that's coming from me. That's actually coming from me. So I will watch my reaction. I'll watch my reaction if someone is fearful of what I'm doing, for instance. Now just watch my reaction to that, because I also made that up. I get to hear that I'm dangerous from time to time, that my teachings are very dangerous, and that people are going to get in a lot of trouble like that. And you know, when I hear something like that, I just really enjoy it, because I know it's coming from me. And I know it's to show me. It's like the ego propping up something like, look, you haven't made it yet. And it's like, well, obviously I still see bodies. and I could still hear about someone disapproving of me. You know, if you hear about someone disapproving of you, you haven't made it, so to speak. It's not like you ever left. But getting a perception of other bodies is a clear indication that the thought of separation is still being pursued in your mind. Isn't that great? So the whole thing is for using to undo that. You know, so you're not motivated to pursue that thought of separation anymore. But the way this thought of separation is taken by the ego is it's the ego's life to make sure that you're trying to make this world meaningful, because it takes you trying to make this world meaningful to keep it propped up. And the ego's whole life depends on this world being meaningful to you. And that's the only thing that makes suffering. That's the only thing that makes the illusion of death. So it's like, hooray. Someone tells me, Hope, you know, I have a problem with you. Inside, I'm like, hooray. Outside, I might be, oh, tell me about it or something like that. Tell me about that. And then there's not like a lot of conversation that goes on with that because it's like, oh, okay, you're right. You're right. What can I do? Maybe what can I do? Maybe, well, I want you to do this, 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 and this, and this, and this. Oh, well, yeah, I'm not willing to do that stuff. But how about this? You know? And here's the thing too. Watch this. Because when you think that what you're saying that's like true to how you feel, if you think it's going to disappoint or bother the other person, it shows in the way it's delivered through you. Your body language, watch the tone of your voice. Watch the tone of your voice. When whatever you're speaking, it seems like it's going to disappoint a person. Hey, would you do this? Would you do this? And you know, you're declining them. Watch how the tone is. It's like, oh, I know you're going to be disappointed. Or someone will come to me and say, I'm not going to be able to come to your thing. I'm not going to be able to meet you when I said I was going to meet you. And just from watching myself, just from watching that, it changed from, oh, to, oh, awesome. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. And the more people are allowed to express how they express without me believing that any feeling I have is because of the way they acted, the less I perceive people acting like that toward me. To where there's this sense of obligation. One of my friends told me, I hope you tell them this, 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 and this. And I said, well, I always tell people as I'm guided, not as I'm expected by people. But thank you. See? It's just simple like that. It's like whatever the guidance is, and the guidance is toward joy. There's no shame in that. There isn't any shame in that. And look, everyone wants you to be joyful. That's what they want, really. Even if they don't know it, they want you to be joyful because your joy is theirs. They don't want to have the burden of them having pressured you into doing something you didn't want to do. They don't want to have that burden. Our minds aren't separate. So then when we're thinking about a person as if, oh, they're controlling or they're bossy, whatever. They're thinking about a person like that. They feel it. So they actually don't want that. They actually want you to speak up and say what it is that's true for you. And you know, the only way you can't, remember I said you can't manage your behavior and say, okay, I'm going to speak my truth. I was talking with one friend today. He was like, I don't know why I can't just speak my truth when it comes to what my boundaries are. You know, I just feel like I need people to love me. And so I don't say what my boundaries are. And it's like, well, you actually don't have any boundaries. You don't really have any that are your own. It's just that which you perceive as being a boundary, that which you perceive, it's kind of like a plaything. It's like, oh, are you loved enough to be able to express that boundary in a loving way? Or do you see yourself as needing love from other people? Because then if you do, you're going to be made to not express the boundary. You're just made to not express the boundary. And either way, you don't even have a choice in it. That's why people get so frustrated. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just say what my boundary is? Or how come when I say what my boundary is, people get fucking pissed at me. See? You don't have a choice in it. But when you keep on going toward, you see what the boundaries, you see where the joy is, and you're willing to let that be expressed without interference about how that person's going to take it, without any interference about that. You know, some of us think our friends are going to desert us, or maybe our lover or our partner is just going to desert us if that's what the boundary is. Oh, forget it. That's not going to fly. If I have that boundary, then I'm going to lose this person. So then there's faking it. And then there's sourness in the relationship, and people are like, why is it so sour? And then it's making them out to be the one that's keeping you from expressing it. And then it's murder. And then it just goes to murder. Maybe if the person just died. Wait a minute, maybe I'll take a life insurance policy out first. And then think, if the person just passes away, I don't have this problem anymore. And the ego does go to that. The ego does go to that. So, you know, if you watch how this is, it's all self-inflicted. I used to think that my husband was really holding me back. And when I switched it around to be like, wow, I'm making him like that. I'm making it as if my husband's holding me back. He's not doing anything. He's not even there, actually. I made the whole thing up that I have a husband. And so when I'm holding it like that, it's easy, it's easeful, because knowing that I'm love, I don't need to keep the man. I don't need the man. So in knowing I don't need the man, this is my boundary. And, oh, you're still here? Freaking awesome. Thanks. And you know, thanks if you're not too. It's like the relating doesn't need to go on any longer than whatever it is. There's no need for it to go on any longer than that. You don't get a reward for having the relationship for a super long time. But you do get rewarded with joy if your hand is open and letting it pass, letting it come and go, ebb and flow. And if they don't resonate, let's say, with your boundaries, then they'll move on, and something else is always coming. The perception isn't stopping, and the perception is what's bringing all of the gifts of awareness. So it doesn't really matter. That doesn't mean if you had one sexual partner, you're definitely going to have another sexual partner. But the thing is, you don't need sex. You don't need it. That's like that's like some ego thing that's been programmed in. My needs, my needs, my needs. You only need love. Really, you don't even need food and water. It just seems like that. But all the things that you even apparently need on the surface, they're just coming. And if you don't have a sexual partner, good. If you do, good, because it's all the same. It doesn't matter. You cannot replace a body with another body. That's not how it is. I'll just get a better model. Younger one, maybe. Because it's all coming from you. That's why you cannot replace a body with another body. But anyone that comes and goes is giving you exactly what you need. So they can go if they're going. It's totally okay. My daughter told me a couple months ago when she was super enthusiastic about the cocaine, which we later found out was actually meth. She told me, Mom, I feel like I can't talk to you. And I go, that's okay. But if I can't talk to you, then I can't come around you. And I said, that's okay. That's totally all right. There's no problem with that. And the next thing I know, she's around me a lot. You know, it's just like if there's an idea that something's wrong, it's like, oh, you can't talk to me. Oh my God. You know, it's like, if you can't talk to me, you can't talk to me. That's perfect. We're always getting all the lessons, the perfect lessons that we need all the time. So there's no problem. That doesn't make it a problem. I feel like I can't be around you. That's okay. It's changing. It's always changing. I love you. I'm here. When you feel comfortable, come on back. Next thing you know, there's no Coke/meth, and it's totally comfortable again. There's just nothing to get your energy worked up about. You know, even if it comes to, and I know this is really hard for people, probably the daughter thing is really hard for people. I've seen people, you know, have a really hard time like that, like with their kids, when their kids do a certain thing, you know, whether they're adult or whatever, and it really feels like, oh, this is so terrible. It's all playful. It's all really playful. Still, nothing's wrong, no matter what. And you know, another thing is death, and that's a really difficult thing for people. But watch this, because, you know, we seem to perceive bodies dying. We seem to have that perception, right? You know, you have the perception of a body dying, maybe someone who's really close to you, maybe someone who you didn't expect to die, something like that. See if you could see it differently, because that is also comedy. I know it's hard to accept that that's comedy, but that is also comedy. There was never a birth, and there's not a death either. These things are arising like that and showing themselves like that to prove that guilt is real. Now, can you imagine where someone dies and it turns to laughter instead? That will heal the whole illusion so fast, but to the ego, that's complete blasphemy. You don't laugh when someone dies. You know, and to the ego, it's going to be like, oh, now we're condoning murder, huh? Now we just go out and kill people. You know, it's not like that at all. You know, you don't feel like harming anyone when you have love in your heart. But if you get the perception of harm and you know that harm is impossible, it's really funny. That's why comedians make jokes about it after the fact, you know. People calm down a little bit, then they make some jokes about it. Even if it happens to be death, rape, murder, anything like that. And, you know, to the ego, that's how you would make more of it. It's like condoning it to the ego because you're laughing about it. You know, you're making comedy about it. So that makes it okay to do. And it's like the opposite is the case. Because if you're laughing about it, you're not afraid of it, you're not in fear of it, and it's the fear that brings all of these illusions of people harming each other. It's fear, and it's a sense of guilt. It's like, this is a really bad thing. And bodies rise and they fall. It's just for fun. I know that's not easy. I refer back to the day I got a call about my son being knocked unconscious when he was skating at the skate park. He hit his head several times. First he hit his head the one main time, and then he went into a seizure and just kept on banging his head. And so then he got rushed to the hospital, and it seemed like the perception was that guy's either brain dead or he's dead. When you hear it from the paramedics, when you hear that, you know, like, shoot, that guy's either brain dead or he's dead. And like, all this fear came over me. But then there was that noticing, wait a second, this is the time to practice. This is it right here. And in letting there be that sense of relief in that there was no body in the first place, there's no way I can lose communication with my son. His body is not the means for communicating with me. That's a make-believe thing. It's actually more of a stop to communication than pure communication. So I'm driving all the way from, you know, Lani Puna Gardens by Leilani to Hilo, which is like a 45-minute drive. And I'm feeling completely good. I'm feeling completely, whatever I'm going to find over there, I'm feeling completely at ease with it. And I go in there, and there he is. He's got eyes rolled back in his head. His poor little face is just all jacked and everything. And it was like, as soon as I went in there, I was like, oh, everything is perfectly good. And an interesting thing is everything was perfectly good. There was just no problem. You know, he didn't have any kind of procedure done or anything. He had no procedure done. They kept him for a couple days to monitor him because he was hit his head so hard. But it turns out there's nothing. There's nothing there. And a lot of these things, a lot of these consequences too, we're making up. We're making them up. So it's like there's no need to believe that because a person hit their head that hard, that there has to be something wrong. Just because they say that it has to have some kind of consequences for the brain or for the body or anything like that. Just because they say anything could occur. And here's the thing: when you're in love, even the perception follows it. Even the perception shows itself like that when you're in love. You can play around with that with physical symptoms too. Watch any physical symptom. As soon as your mind moves to blame that physical symptom, like something caused it, you know. One that I hear in my household a lot that just cracks me up all the time. Like if anyone's like low energy, not feeling up to par or something, what'd you eat? or have you been burning yourself out? See, just making it really physical. Yes, you've been burning yourself out if you're feeling low energy, but it had 100% to do with thought and not your action. And that's why you'll never be successful in monitoring your actions, managing your actions in a way where it's going to keep your energy levels really even and stuff like that, because you can't help it. You don't really have a choice in it. You can say, okay, like I have one friend that goes, I know I have a really weak immune system, so I don't go into crowds of people very often, and I really have to manage my energy. And even with all that knowledge, all of a sudden there will be a sickness that will manifest itself, and then immediately it'll be like, yep, I overdid it. I went around too many people and I overdid it. And that's not how it works. You don't have any choice in any of that stuff. It's thinking. It's thinking that makes a low energy. It's thinking that gives you the lethargy, the sickness. And then out of that, you get a manifestation to give you a more physical cause and effect that you can blame it on. And then it doesn't have to be about the thinking, and your thinking can continue to be erroneous and making all kinds of uncomfortable, sick manifestations for yourself. See, if you don't even suspect that it's thinking, oh God, I overdid it again. I worked out too hard, or I went too far in that yoga stretch or something like that. And that's not how it works. That cause and effect isn't true. You can't do anything to hurt yourself. You cannot do anything to hurt yourself. Thinking is what makes manifestations of hurting yourself. Thinking in error. That's all. So it just takes a little bit of willingness there to see that it is about thought and not about any kind of action that you've done. Because if you keep it on action like that and you keep trying to manage your actions, you're just never going to see what's underneath it. At least not until life brings about enough suffering for you. See, you could skip a whole bunch of suffering. You could actually skip a whole bunch of suffering. But it seems like for most people to be willing to look at what is really causing this, even a conflict with a person or anything like that, is thinking that makes it. It's not a guilty thing. That's what deters people. If my thinking is an error, I must be guilty. No, it's not true. If your thinking is an error, you're completely innocent. You just thought that that was true. So it just needs a little correction from the one who knows how to correct. That's your guide that I talked about earlier. That's your guide that knows the truth about you. And also knows what you think about yourself, but doesn't judge you for that. And waits very patiently for you to be ready to change your mind. For you to be ready to think in alignment with what's true about you. And see all of your relationships and your health and the health of your loved ones. See all that shift. Taking responsibility is another way of saying it. Taking 100% responsibility. Look, if you get the perception that, you know, the people who die from COVID, this is one of them. The people who die from COVID are mostly obese people. They probably eat at McDonald's and these different things, right? Watch something like that. Because that's saying that they had the power to harm themselves. That their actions can harm themselves. They're eating wrong. You know, they're following the wrong diet, so therefore they got what they deserved. That's what they deserved. You're talking about yourself. You're always talking about yourself. So you're setting yourself up to see that you got what you deserved. And look how common that is. This is the natural consequence for that. If I stay up late and party, the next day I'm going to be tired. Play around with that a little bit. You know, if you really think that that's the reason why you're tired, and it looks like it. I know. It's really convincing. It looks like that. It's meant to look like that. But you could ask to see it differently. What's really making me feel tired today? Is it because I drank a bottle of gin last night? Can't be, because there's no last night. There's no bottle of gin. I'm imagining a bottle of gin right now. I don't know why it's gin, but I'm imagining a bottle of gin right now, and I have a sour feeling in my tummy. And you not having a choice in what you do, it's going to do you no good to say that this hungover feeling right now is because of the gin. Next thing you know, here's the pattern that people do. Is, you know, it could be gin or it could be something else, it could be Oreos, whatever. People will find themselves drinking the gin again or eating Oreos again and feeling even more guilty because now they decided that they don't want to feel that way and it's caused by that thing. So I'm feeling more guilty, more self-loathing. Whereas you can be completely out of that. You can be completely out of that whole thing. And just some willingness to recognize the gin is nothing. It has no effects. It has no effects on anything. I made it up. If I have a perception that I drank it last night, or I ate that thing last night, or I had way too much sex last night, now I'm sore, whatever. I'm projecting it now. There's no cause and effect like that. That's not what it's cause and effect is not the way it seems to be. I'm making up this whole scenario about what went on last night so I could justify how I feel so I don't have to see that I made an error in thinking. And that's why I'm projecting a sick body onto myself. See? Isn't that fun? It doesn't mean, and the goal isn't so that you can go get a bottle of gin and just drink it down. And then the next morning you're like, gosh, it seems like nothing happened. For some people, it's like that anyways. But, you know, it's like, that's not the goal. The goal is seeing through this illusion. The goal is seeing through the fake cause and effect that we made up so we could undo the thought of separation, which is really what's making all of these sick interpretations that we're getting. See? So you just stop blaming it on that stuff. And then you won't find yourself also engaging in habits, engaging in activity that seems to bring about an ill effect for you, because you won't be driven that way. The mind is driving it that way. The projected mind. It's what's driving it. It's making all of the illusions so that you can pretend like something else is making you upset. Some person over there, or some substance over here, or the government. So you can pretend that that's giving you that sense of upset. Because if you see what is really giving you the sense of upset, then you have no use for the ego. You don't have to try to protect yourself. You don't have to try to make the right food choices or friend choices or anything like that. It's all just coming.
So there's this famous Krishnamurti quote, how does it go? There's no sense of goodness for a person to conform to a sick society. So it's like everything in our society has been shut down, except what's prevalent is sickness. That everyone is sick, is afraid of being sick and dying. So I was thinking, well, maybe this is a good sign that the sickness of our society is coming to the forefront to be healed, to be exposed to the light of day, so that then we can leave behind these sick patterns that our society has been stuck in, to move into health and love. And instead of everyone, we're supposed to be afraid of each other, 6 feet apart, we're going to get sick, everyone is dwelling on sickness. So, but it's so prevalent, it's so obvious, it's so glaring, this sick aspect, that it seems like it's the opportunity to embrace it and to allow it and to give thanks for it, because now it's all exposed out in the open. It's just so blatant. The whole world is run by coronavirus sickness now, that then we can dispel it.
Yeah, it brings up all kinds of opportunities, and for everyone, it's bringing up opportunities in a different way. You know, like for some people, for instance, their trigger is people who aren't wearing masks, people who are still gathering because they feel like they're being attacked by that. And for certain other people, the problem is, and it's any problem you perceive, that becomes your special purpose. So for others, and the problem is that the government's being too draconian. You know, for other people, it's a certain conspiracy theory, or a number of them, that's disconcerting for them. So it's whatever it is for you that feels upsetting, that becomes your special purpose. Because now that's something that you've been given to see through. And in this particular scenario, what I notice is there's a lot of triggers seem to be more on the surface. You know, so it is kind of like bringing things to the surface, but it's not the same thing for everyone. And it doesn't need to be. It's whatever the trigger is, whether it has to do with around coronavirus or anything. It's always the same way. It's your, okay, that's for you. If that's triggering for you, good, that's for you. No, it's not true. You know, I love it because I'll get a perception that this really good thing is coming out of it. I got the perception like it's really good thing. I forgot even what it is right now, but it's really good thing. And my mind started to go with that. And then I was like, wait a minute. And then just like stop pursuing that good thing that's going to come out of it and go back to the body's energy field. And there's just like a deepening into the joy right there. You know, just letting it to deepen like that. With that, even that sense of any kind of hope for the world is false hope. It's underscored with doubt. It's, you know, and it seems like, oh, what if it's like this? What if it's really this? What if it's really that? I don't know. I've heard something like all of the bad people are getting arrested. They're keeping us in this place So the bad people can, oh, what if it's that? Oh, yeah. And then you start pursuing that and thought. When you turn your attention back, you'll see that that too is an upset feeling. It's just trying to get the better aspect of the upset feeling. But when you see through the world, when you're willing to see through the world, you're not interested in hopeful thoughts for the world. It's not here. So it doesn't need to get better. It doesn't need to get better. And you know, if it seems to get worse, good. It's bringing about the opportunities. It's bringing the opportunities for seeing through it. But you know, since it is such a reflection, the more your mind gets purified, things look brighter. Things, even in the perception, look brighter and brighter. But if the world isn't looking to the brightness that you thought it should, good, because that's not really what it's for.
But it does seem like we are in like a birth passage, that we're like living between two worlds. The old world is gone. We can never go back to the system or the way things were. We can only move forward into something different, something new. So we can. It's like a woman that's giving birth. So it's intense. It's powerful. But to just be able to relax and to go with it and to be joyful like you had the painless birth.
Mm-hmm.
So then we can be midwives for a new birth for the human family, for life that we perceive around us on this alleged earth. All of your husband, your children, all of us, here we are. We're here. We live. And so how are we going to go forward into our lives in this living between two worlds? So you're saying that to have any kind of vision of what we can experience going ahead is just some kind of false hope, or just some kind of fantasy that you have to kind of compensate for the negative that we're leaving behind, that we're just kind of have some wishful thinking? Or is this something that we can utilize to create the future, in our now moment, in our moment where we're feeling the joy, the love, the beauty, the power? Then we can go forward in our life and create a new paradigm.
Well, creating doesn't happen here. There's no creating here. It's make-believe. It's make-believe. Everything that you see here is thoughts brought together. It's all thoughts brought together. So any kind of vision you have for a better world or anything, and let's say that leads to the best invention ever. I don't know what it is, but the best invention ever. Everyone agrees it's the best. It's completely fucking meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. Great if that occurs. No problem if it doesn't occur. But, the goal has to be, the goal still has to be focused on, and that is to see through the illusion. Not to make the illusion better. That's natural that occurs as the mind kind of sinks into love and loving. But that's not sinking into love and loving when you're wishing for the world to be different. Because that's already saying that there's a lack right now. And true vision doesn't see in separation. True vision doesn't see bodies, for instance, or anything that needs to be improved. True vision doesn't include death. It doesn't include this world. We're not seeing here. We're perceiving. That's a totally different thing. We're perceiving. So there isn't a world to go through birthing pains and all that kind of stuff and get to be a better world like that. It's a dream state. So in perceiving, basically, it's an interpretation of energy. So the only thing that you could ask for that could actually be given you, and is not an illusion, is to see differently. So it's kind of like you see with the eyes of spirit. Like if it were God looking on this, You're looking at it with perfect love. You can ask to see it clearly. See? But if you're just asking for a better illusion, a better world, for instance, to live in, I hope the government does this, for instance. I hope we all have free health care or something like that. I hope everyone makes the same amount of money, so there's not haves and have-nots, for instance. It's like wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking on one hand, and on the other, it's a self-attack, because it's still saying, I want this world. I want this world. I just want it to be better.
Yeah.
I just want it to be better than it is. I still want it. I just want it to be better. And isn't that pretty much what everyone's thinking about it? I want to keep this world, but I want it to be a much better world. And it's like what the Holy Spirit is meaning to teach your mind is that you don't want this world. You want what's yours. You want what's truly yours. But that's not something that most people at this point in time are ready to even consider. What? I don't want this world. Doesn't that make me into a monster, for instance? Won't I just go around? Won't I just get in my car and just go run people over? but any kind of violence, it all comes out of being violent toward yourself in the first place, self-attack, and that comes from wanting the world. That comes from wanting it. See, when you see, and it just takes willingness to see that you actually don't want the world. It's a little bit hard for the ego, because the ego's like, oh, I worked so hard to make this appealing to you. I gave you stuff like sex and chocolate and Netflix, ganja.
But you were talking about how everything, when you're enlightened, everything gets translated into light. So right now we're having the light that's passing through these crystals and projecting rainbows onto you.
Oh, what fun! How fun!
So that's just it. It's like I wrote this poem. The pure white light of spirit passes through one's prismatic mind and diffracts into the vivid spectrum of sensation. So the core of our being is this divine light. Our mind is like a prism, like those crystals, that then projects into the spectrum of sensation, the five senses. So then that's how everything here is a projection, just like that light is passing through those crystals and projecting the rainbow.
Yes.
So that's why we go within, that whatever is without is completely our projection, just that those crystals don't have to worry about what's happening out there, just like we don't have to worry about what we see in the mirror when we look in the mirror. We don't have to worry about what's in the mirror or trying to adjust the mirror, we just adjust ourselves. And so then and it's the same kind of image with a movie. So you have your projector and then you have your screen. Well, what animates that projector and screen is the light in the projector. So the projector passes through the film and then the film projects onto the screen. So it's the same kind of image as the crystals with the rainbows. So basically the whole purpose is to get back to the light, to get back to the source, that we have a universe filled with light. And once you've discovered this light, then that dissolves all problems. It's the need for that light, that source, that substance is what we all long for, to return to that source of all life, which is that divine light.
Yes, which is what we already are. Which is what we already are. So through the perceiving, we're teaching our own mind. We're either teaching our mind that that's what we are, or we're teaching our mind that we're limited and there's no in between. So as the mind can accept that we are perfect light like that, then we can start to see more clearly. We can start to see all of our brothers and sisters more clearly, and even all of the things that seem to crop up. Like even the house, for instance. It's all perfect light manifesting as consciousness, and we get to see it more and more as there's willingness to only teach that. To only teach that to our mind and not try to teach something else. Not try to teach that I'm vulnerable to something. I mean, even, just in watching, and I don't count myself as guilty if I hear myself saying something that's delusional. I find myself doing that all the time. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, I mean, it could even be something like, oh, I'm tired. I'm tired because I didn't get enough sleep last night. That's delusional. You're not tired because you don't get any energy from sleeping. See what I mean? Yeah, you do not get any energy from sleeping, but you think you do, so you make that shit up.
Is the thought that's happening there that I'm vulnerable and that I deserve punishment?
Yes.
That's where the tired
Yes.
coming from?
Yes, because of something that you did or didn't do before, now you're being punished. And look how common that is. Look, it's amazing. It's like everywhere. Or because of, that person, well, of course they died in a car accident. They weren't wearing their seatbelt or something like that. Or, they're choking because they eat too fast. Or what's another one? They have bad breath because they eat meat. I don't know.
Or I could see being tired as a blessing as well.
Yes,
I choose
totally.
so. I choose
Yes, because it's all your choice. And any sense of the body being weak, even like at night, like I find myself feeling tired sometimes during the day, in the middle of the day, and I'll just go down for a nap. I'll be watchful though about thoughts of why I'm tired. That's the whole thing. It's like making up stories about why I'm tired. Like even going into the mind and trying to analyze how many hours of sleep did I get last night? What did I do yesterday? See, all that is playing in delusion. It's like, oh, tiredness is here. Tiredness arose. That's it.
Yeah, and enjoy it.
Yeah. Tiredness arose. I don't have to try to hide being tired. I don't have to pretend like I'm not tired when I'm tired. It's just
Be
like
thankful because of all the insomniacs that can't sleep.
so, and that's another one too, like insomnia, that giving it a word like it's something that's like it's a bad thing. It's like awesome if you're not sleeping. There's no problem with that. There's so many rewards to be garnered there and anywhere. But what I see is like up in the middle of the night and the thought that you should be sleeping, that hinders it because that makes you feel anxious. And then you're really not going to get to sleep. You're anxious. That comes from the mind. And there's not a problem either way, like being tired or being not tired when you think you should be tired. Because there's no day and there's no night. There's no hours.
There's no tired.
There's no tired too. You just feel it. It's all a feeling.
Yeah, but what do you do with that? Like, I kind of heard what Bob was saying, and really it sounded like, yeah, I know what you're saying, but there's and we have a projector and all. So where do you get to that place where you're just it is like where you're knowing, you're really knowing, oh, this is so silly, you can laugh at yourself. But then finally, when does that just kind of fade?
Well, it totally goes away when you have no more perception. As long as you are perceiving yourself as a body, the thoughts that circulate the mind arise for you.
Understood. So
Yeah.
I keep repeating, I'm not the body, I'm not this, I'm not that, the thoughts, I'm not anything, and I could keep doing that for days, years, months, and whatever. But that's just not cool. That's not.
You're looking for an experience. An experiential.
Poof. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Right? Probably.
Well,
so.
it's not in you. The choice is you. The choice is yours. But it's not really up to you when it's totally revealed to you like that. But the choice that you make to see through, that's totally yours from moment to moment. So there's another judgment that comes in where it's like, I just want to get to that place. And it's not really like getting
it's not
to
a get
it.
to. I'm realizing that it's just like and taking it all off and just being empty.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about getting through the taking it all off portion of it and
Well, it
just
seems like
being
it
there.
wasn't. It didn't go yet. You know, in my
Yeah.
perception of
And why do
self.
you say that? Why do you say it seems like it didn't go?
Because when I'm out and about, I have a wonderful, but when I'm out and about, and especially with this virus baloney, like, so I get these mixed emotions, these mixed feelings, or something like I'm doing something wrong, right? But when I had to get gas, everybody's got their thing on, or go into the natch, and it's expected now. I read something,
Mm-hmm.
It seems like I want to hold on to some type of rules. All it's like, oh, is it okay that we walk to the beach, and go for a swim? Like I want to hold on to these parameters, and I really do not. So I've got this like interesting, I see it all. I see the
Yeah.
play. So I'm just like, okay, go bye. Like I really, that ego, you can go, and I laugh and it dissipates and I don't have my attention on. I thought I would be feeling differently.
You thought you'd be feeling differently?
Yeah. Like, yeah, you have arrived. And then all of a sudden you're like, bing! I don't know. Obviously, I think that's what it may be.
Yeah, well, if you look to the world to show you, it's always going to
no.
show you that you haven't.
Yeah.
When it seems like, people are really fearful with this COVID thing
Yeah.
and stuff like that, and that seems to be giving you an upset feeling. It's not
It's
really
weird.
that. Yeah, it's not really that, because you could just have fun with it. You could play with it. You could, I'm going to dress like a bandit today.
Yeah, you could. I know.
It's not actually a problem. It's not actually a problem.
This
So
cool bandana.
Well, I had fun. I had a little-
Fire.
Wow, man,
Yeah.
Bob, I used to have pants that looked like that.
Yeah, that's right.
that used to be your pants right there.
Hey!
Relax.
Oh yeah, I hear you, and it's funny play because I'm like, I see how I can take that outer and I see what's going on.
it's in the moment. It's in the moment when you see that you're having the perception of people freaking out, going to the gas station. You're making that stuff up.
Okay.
Okay, you're making that stuff up. I can tell you that just because I have a completely different perception when I go out. And
Everybody's okay.
there's no
yeah.
problem with me being super happy and bubbly.
Okay.
That's another thing that I
Okay.
notice. Like in the stores, even in the
Yeah.
stores, people are like relieved. That's what I see.
Okay.
That someone's over there like, thanks. Like, come back soon.
Yeah.
I've even discovered people being even more friendly, standing in the 6-foot separation line. People are more apt to talk with me than before. They're standing 2 feet away.
Right.
Yeah.
Striking up convos everywhere. Convos. I probably said combos, but convos. Conversations.
Same thing.
Combo medicine, man. Bring it on.
Yeah.
All of it, it's just so amazing and fascinating.
So in getting a perception that people are really fearful or anything like that, coming back to that you're projecting it like that, and it's totally not even a problem because you know that the way you feel, you're making that for yourself, and it's good. It's a blessing. It's good because of what it's for. See, that's the thing, and that's where you're really gonna see yourself kind of pop out of it, so to speak, when you get the upset feeling and you're glad.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and it wasn't too upset, but it was like, oh, I don't know, I don't want to stick out here. I heard and I read that you must wear a mask or they're just gonna be terrible with you, right?
Yeah,
I'm
and that's
concerned
all
about all that. What's
right.
Guilt and punishment.
Up with that? Sister. Why
Well,
do
there's
we
another
wanna
piece
do
of it
that
too. I
for
mean, it's
ourselves?
also
Sure,
it's also a form of respect, even though we're still seeing ourselves as separate. I wear a mask out of a show of respect for the others who might be concerned if I don't.
Well, that's what I'm doing it for, but I
Yeah.
don't even really. I mean, I believe that, but I don't believe that's not truth either.
Yeah,
You know,
but
Well-
still, I mean, you're interrupting other people's lives
right?
by living your
because-
truth.
because
That can be a
of your
challenge
truth. Yes,
for them.
certainly.
And so I can laugh about it, but they might not think it's so funny.
Well, I want to hear what Hope has to say right now.
And then you don't even have to think about anything like respect when you're taking the whole responsibility for yourself. You're just automatically expressing that way anyways. So you'll find yourself wearing the mask in a different vibe. You know, and it's not right or wrong, you know, it's just that any kind of protest kind of energy, you're setting yourself up. Any kind of protest, like I'm wearing this mask, but I really don't want to. It's like, watch that you're projecting it like that because you're setting yourself up. That's all. You know, it could be really fun and playful. And that's where people will automatically feel respected too, because you're having fun and being playful. And, you know, you're probably going to find yourself wearing the mask because it's a rule that you have to wear it now to get in the store.
that's
So
what I'm
you're
saying.
probably going to find
That's what
yourself
I'm saying.
wearing it.
Yeah.
I don't even have one yet. I haven't been to the store since that
Right.
happened.
I don't have one. I just have a neck thing, and then it kept falling down. You know, one of those big things that you can wear on your head or whatever.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty clever, but it kept falling down. I have to
Tie it a little tighter.
It doesn't
A
tie.
little tighter.
It
I'm
doesn't
getting
I
tie.
can show you how to tie it. I was a
Put it
cowboy
anyway.
once. I can show you how to do it.
No, we're getting away from the whole idea. You
I'm being
know.
playful, that's all. None of it exists anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my goodness.
What's up, Thomas?
Yeah, what I'm getting from all this is if I trace it back to the belief in separation
Yeah.
and correct it at that place, like the separation never happened.
Yeah.
Now there's no more story. Now there's just a game.
Yeah.
If they say you have to dress up as a nun to come in our store, you'll say, "Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I haven't then." And now it's a game. Now it's just like,
Oh,
I mean, I want to do this. I'm not doing this necessarily, but this is truth.
Yeah.
If I get past the separation into that never happened, now it's just a game.
Yeah.
There's no more story.
Yeah. Oh, that's the rule that we wear a mask? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, there's not fighting about it.
I wasn't belligerent. I actually was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So the most important thing is telling yourself the truth about it, not telling anyone else
That's
the truth
it.
about it.
That's it. That's right. There's no one to teach. There's no one to teach. It's just your own mind. Anything that you say, you're teaching your own mind. So, you know, any kind of behavior, any kind of expression that's coming out of you is coming out of the way you think. So if you think that this is wrong, the way that they're doing these things, then you're going to be expressing like you're rebellious toward it. And to people, they would probably perceive that as disrespectful. Because there's people who are feeling fearful of the virus and feel like if you wear a mask, then that's going to protect them from getting that virus. And any kind of, since the mind isn't separate, any kind of sense like, oh, I'm just doing this because these people are stupid, for instance, you know, they can feel that. They can totally feel that. And then it's like, White Dove, you fucking hippie, man. You need to...
Anyway, I'm really trying to conceal that.
You're way too free. You know, you get that kind of vibe. But that reaction comes from the rebelliousness in the first place. See, so then you'll even find that you can be happy and bubbly and everything because you're not feeling rebellious.
Yeah.
Because you're not feeling like whatever the government decisions are making are wrong or anything like that. And like, you don't have to agree with it or anything. You don't, and any agreement or disagreement, that's only just thought too.
Yeah.
So that's not really about you. But, you know, if you get the sense, oh, I don't agree with that. Like if I was the governor, I would just let everyone mingle until there's an immunity, right?
Well, there's a country in Scandinavia that's allowing herd immunity, allowing everyone to just come together, and there's evidence that the disease, so many people, tens of thousands have been infected. But
Yeah, that's not relevant right now, though, Bob, for what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah, I know about all that stuff, but that's just not relevant right now. I'm just saying, like, as an example. As an example, you have an idea that you would do it differently. Maybe you know of that evidence that you're just talking about, and you're going, okay, there's evidence like this, and I would totally do it differently. It's still not relevant to the ego. This would be a reason to revolt,
Oh,
you know, because
loves
they're
it,
doing
yeah.
it wrong.
Yeah, the ego's gonna.
So this is a reason to revolt, and that's why there's conflict between people. That's the only reason there's any conflict between people. And it's really common for us to just get hooked like that, you know, and myself included, just thinking that I know better. I know better than what they're saying, of course, you know. Whatever I think I know, that's got to be the right thing. But in just constantly checking yourself like that, you just get more and more guidance and openness to being compassionate to yourself. And that expresses as compassion for everyone else. And then, of course, they're going to feel respected. That's a big part of it. They're going to feel respected in that.
Well, there's a catch to that also. I mean, when I believe that I'm part of everyone else and that there's no separation, I'm actually taking care of myself by showing respect for others.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Well, help me with this situation. So it's like David and Emily, I can't. He's kicked me out of his property. I can't go in her house. I can go on her property and work. And so they say, well, if you want to come back to us to be in our homes, you have to quarantine for 2 weeks and not hug or be around people with masks. So they're going to ask me, okay, you went to Wisdom Dialogues. They said, oh, we prefer if you don't go to Wisdom Dialogues, but if you go to Wisdom Dialogues, you can't touch anyone. You have to be 6 feet away and you have to wear a mask.
Okay.
So they're camping now. When they come home, they're going to ask me. So how would you recommend I deal with that question?
Well, it's just look at make it all one thing. It's not like separate recommendations for separate situations. You know, I'm not your guide. You make it all one thing. You don't have to sit around and even jockey it around how it's going to go. You might find they completely forgot about the whole thing.
Yeah, they might.
You know, it's like you don't have to know what to say. It's said for you. You know, either whatever's coming is coming out of the guidance of the ego, or it's coming out of the guidance of your spirit. You know, if you're not feeling like you're threatened, you're just going to express it exactly the way you need to. And it's going to show you exactly what it is that needs to be shown. So there's no problem. You know, and it is possible, it is totally possible to be respectful and also say no.
Yeah.
You don't have to say yes to everything. Sometimes people are going to feel disrespected. Do you not like it when people feel disrespected? That's right. You don't like it. So if you're aware that you don't like it and you're making it up like that, it's not that the people are a problem. It's not that you are a problem in that way, but that you're making it up like that. It's going to be shown to you more and more how to let go of your judgments and your ideas about how things should be and how they should be said and everything like that. And then you will see the reflection change. You will see it change. You know, it's like, of course, we want everyone to feel respected and happy around us. We all do. Because that's how we want to see ourselves. That's how we want to be. So, of course, and you know, the Spirit knows that's what you want. The Spirit knows. So you don't have to ask, what do I say or how do I deal with it? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what I'm going to say before I say it. If my mind starts to go to how I'm going to deal with these people, I turn my attention to my body's energy field. Because I'm making myself separate right there if I think that I need to figure it out.
Well, at some point, they're going to want to inject me, you, and everybody.
You don't know that.
No, it's a speculation at this point, but
And here's the thing. When you say something like that, how does it feel?
uncomfortable.
Yeah. So that's the opportunity. It's not that vaccinations are real or that they can really do anything to you or anything like that. Nothing can seem to happen without your authority. So this is only being brought about in your consciousness to get this uncomfortable feeling and to have you try to fight against that and that happening. Whether that's fighting against it as in making a protest, a physical protest or something like that, or whether it's just fighting against it in your own mind as far as protesting in your mind. I don't want that to happen. You know, anything that you say, I don't want that to happen, or you're afraid of it happening, you're bringing it about. You're really bringing it about. But when you get the thought, like when you just say that to me right now, that's how I'm getting the thought. You said it to me apparently, but I made you say that to me. See, so I made you say something like that to me. If there's an upset feeling about it in me, that's exactly where my attention goes. I don't give a rat's ass about that thought. It doesn't mean anything. It's the uncomfortable feeling about someone holding me down, putting the injection in me against my will. That's what's giving me exactly what I need to allow more love, to allow more peace and compassion. It's not giving me something to argue with or something to fight against. See? Even if they're marching over here right now with their syringes saying, all you fuckers are getting this right now, you know, my attention's going to go back to my body's energy field, find the peace. This world isn't real. So the body isn't something that I have to try to protect, not even from an immunization. I find myself saying no to immunizations. I don't get immunizations, okay, like flu shot or anything like that. But you know what? If my kids like to get immunizations, they can. And I'm not afraid because there is no body and there is no immunization. And I'm not afraid if they're coming over here with the immunizations. And I heard stories about the immunization doing all this stuff. That needle and my body are both projections of the same mind. Nothing bad can happen. So that's the practice right there. Anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, don't give it your energy like that, because what you're asking for, that manifestation or something just as fearful to be made. That's really, it's like almost like praying for it to come. It's almost like praying for it to come. When you feel uncomfortable about that and you're looking at it as if it's a real thing, you're asking for it. When you feel uncomfortable about it and you put your attention on the uncomfort as an opportunity to see clearly, you're making the whole thing meaningless and you're neutralizing the effects of that thought. That has no power over you. Yes.
So when you find yourself saying no in certain situations,
Yeah.
that's totally okay. It doesn't
Yes.
matter, just as long as it's from a place of peace rather than resistance.
Wherever it's from is okay with me. I'm just watching. What I'm saying is when you say no from a place of resistance, it's setting yourself up to have a perception that someone's disappointed with you. See, or that you're disappointed in yourself. It can come in a lot of different ways, but what I'm saying is it's a setup. So there are different ways to say no. You know, would you do this and this thing for me? No, I'm not going to be able to do that for me, or for you. Or it's like, oh no, that's not something that I feel like doing today. I've had that kind of conversation with my husband so many times, and it shows, you know, it shows me that it can change, you know, when he's like, hey, would you do this for me? And it's like, well, actually, I'm going to be doing this instead. So no, not today. Or did you do that thing? That's another thing. There's, oh, no, I forgot. Or, no, I didn't. You know, it's like, no, I didn't, but I'll probably do it in the next whatever, you know.
I think that's what got me my last divorce.
That's
That
so
comment
nice.
right there.
Is that right? It was meant to be.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect.
It's perfect. It's totally perfect. A bunch of times I thought I was going to have a divorce too. I'm just like, oh, you're still here. This is amazing. Thank you for coming. You know, you come up with, you know, you're living with someone for a really long time, and there used to be you being a certain way, and you're just all of a sudden like, you know what? I know we've been doing that before, but I'm just like so not into that anymore. Are you okay with that? And then it's like yes or no. That's it. But it's okay if they're not okay and you're going in a different direction. It's all directional. There's no problem with it. So yeah, you know, that's a really fun thing to practice, is the saying no with like owning the no. Yeah. One example I like to give, I was on this retreat and we were all walking around in a circle and we were practicing saying yes. We were going, yes. Yes, everyone was going, yes. And it was like, so it was almost like orgasmic yeses. And then I said, okay, now practice saying no. And I didn't change the way it was orgasmic. I was just like, no, no. And people were, everyone else in the circle was like, no, no, like, no. and you know, they noticed it afterwards, like, I just want to make a note here that when Hope was saying no, she was saying it the same way she was saying yes. and then it's like you're not putting out that expectation like your no means something. My no doesn't mean I don't like you. My no doesn't mean I don't respect you. And you can tell that because of the way I say no. The other person knows it. Oh, what a nice no. It's like not no because you're not in integrity or something like that. I know that's one of the common ones in Puna. No, because you freaking did something wrong.
Yeah.
It was like, no, actually, I'm not feeling like that right now. Actually, I'm not feeling that right now. And so there's a lot of times throughout the course of the day where people will put pressure on people, and it's perfect. It's not a problem. The person isn't overbearing or anything like that. You made them that way. You made them to put pressure on you, just so that you can see through that. Just so that you can see through any tendency to give in to the pressure when it really doesn't match.
Wait, I busted out laughing when somebody did that, and it was hysterical. They were just so shocked. Like,
Uh-huh.
they said, you need to know by 2:22, and I just went, you know, it was just so absurd. But I created that being like that, and the whole thing.
Yeah, well, you made them up. I just really like to speak to the difference between creating and making up.
Okay, cool.
Because creating is something that doesn't occur here.
Okay.
You know, our creative power here is the power to make the choice between making this illusion true and holding only the truth as true. That's our creative power here. And once we find ourselves where we really are in creation, then we're creating. We know we're creating because everything we create is eternal and none of it leads to any kind of conflict. Everything that we think we are creating here, it all leads to depression, conflict, death. Okay, so everything in the world, that's where it all goes. It all disappears and everything like that. So you made that person into something like that for that expression to come forth, so you could see through the illusion in that way. It's all very playful. It's not like you did something bad to yourself. You know, like Yellow Bob mentioned earlier about the sleep or lack of sleep, or sleepiness or lack of sleep being a blessing. It's the same thing where it seems like someone's putting some pressure on you. It's a blessing. When you see it like that, it's so much different. You're just so glad.
Okay, I'm gonna put some pressure on you. This is not yellow, it's marigold.
I stand corrected. I love it.
That's adorable.
Yes.
Could you just repeat what you just said about creation? What true creation is?
Okay. Okay. So creation is eternal. When you're creating, and you are creating now, let's put it that way. You are creating now, but you don't see your creation now. You see perception in its place. You are creating now. When you see your creation, you know it's creation because it's eternal. And it's completely different from something that you see here. Like you see like it's light right now, right? In creation, it's only light. But the sun doesn't hurt your eyes. It doesn't burn your skin. It doesn't rise. There's no sun like that to make the light. The light comes from you. The light always comes from you, even the light of the sun, and even the darkness that you perceive, that's all coming from you. But in creation, it's just only light, and the creation is like an extension of love. There's not anything that you want because there's not anything that's missing. Now, in a dream where we're dreaming of separation, your creative power is your ability to choose reality over the illusion you made. You don't know reality. It's like this veil of forgetfulness came over, so you don't know what reality is. You know what your perception is. You can see that. So it's in that choice to deny truth to what you're perceiving. See, because perception is an interpretation of the thought of separation. It has nothing to do with creating. So your creative power is to deny any truth to that. And then that relieves you of fear. And in being relieved of fear, you're seeing more and more what's really true. This illusion's getting thin for you. The veil's getting thin for you. And you're seeing the light. So once it's completely revealed, and the way it's completely revealed is there's no more thought of separation in the mind. There's no more thought of it. You're seeing right through it. Then there's no such thing as perceiving. There's only creating, and that's how you know yourself. But to get to know yourself like that, because of what you made up, and your mind's really powerful to see yourself as an illusion, because of what you made up, you need that purified. You mean what you made to be purified, and that's your power of creation in a dream.
So true creation, like the light,
Yes.
is something that we can't see so long as we have a body, ultimately.
Well, you're seeing a body because you can't see what's really here. So you're seeing a body because you can't see creation. Even in the death realm, while you're afflicted with the thought of separation, you can't see creation. You can't see creation. It's really scary. So, there's a projection of this world, sort of like so your mind can be taught and it gets undone. It gets undone through the perception of the world. That's why there's taking on a body again and again and again. No one stays in the death realm. But you're in the worldly view, in the worldly realm, and your mind is purified, you don't go to the death realm. Your body, your body just becomes light, and you're released to creating. Does that answer your question? Yay.
You see, that's 420.
4:55.
Okay, it's time for Leia's song, everyone.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Nice.
Thank you, Leia.
Bless you.
Can I put you on camera again?
Sure.
I think that's good. Yeah. Aloha. Leia Mariposa, everyone.
Yeah.
Beautiful singer, songwriter, homesteader, all around.
I have another a mantra today. It's called the Pavamana mantra, also known as Om Asatoma. more commonly known as. And it's a Shanti mantra. It's a mantra for peace. The basic meaning of the mantra is a prayer to lead one from ignorance to truth, from darkness to light, and to be delivered from the idea of death into immortality.
Yay.
So it goes perfectly with your teachings.
Yay, thank you.
And if you happen to know this mantra, if you know the words to this mantra, feel free to join in. I don't mind. I love you. Om Satoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jortirgamaya Ritarma Amritam Gamaya
Yay.
Girl.
Mahalo.
Aloha. I love you. Thank you, Hope.
Thank you. You can catch Leia on SoundCloud, Leia Mariposa. She has a lot of beautiful songs on there already. So check her out. And if you would like to see some more videos, Wisdom Dialogues videos, or any of the other things that I offer, go to hopejohnson.org. Yay! Mahalo, everybody. I love you. Aloha.